गोपीजन वल्लभा गिरिवरदा यशोदानंदन ब्रज जनरंजन यशोदानंदन ब्रज जनरंजन यमुना तीरा वनचारि यमुना तीरा वनचारि जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जय गोपीजन वल्लभा गिरिवरदारी जय गोपीजन वल्लभा गिरिवरदारी यशोदानंदन ब्रज जनरंजन यशोदानंदन ब्रज जनरंजन यमुना तीरा वनचारि यमुना तीरा वनचारि जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम राम हरे हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम राम हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम राम हरे हरे जय प्रभुपदा जय प्रभुपदा श्रील प्रभुपदा जय ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस जय परमजगत स्तोत्र सदा श्रीमती वेदांत स्वामी श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय इस्कॉन संस्थापक श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय जय ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस जय परमजगत स्तोत्र सदा श्रीमती भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती गोस्वामी महाराज प्रभुपाद की जय जय ओम विष्णुपाद लकुर किशोरदास महाराज की जय जय ओम विष्णुपाद सच्चिदानंद श्रीभक्त ठाकुर की जय जय ओम विष्णुपाद वैष्णव सार्वभौम श्री जगन्नाथ दास महाराज की जय जय श्री रूप सनातन भट्ट रघुनाथ श्री जीव गोपाल भट्टदास प्रभु की जय नमाचार्य ठाकुर की जय प्रेम से श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्री साधु गौर भक्त की जय श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोप गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड गिरिवर्धन की जय श्री मायापुर धाम की जय, श्री वृंदावन धाम की जय, कंक माई की जय, अमर माई की जय, भक्ति देवी की जय, तुलसी देवी की जय, अनंत वैष्णव श्री हरिनाम संकीर्तन की जय, ग्रंथ राज श्रीमद भागवतम की जय, इस्कॉन वर्तमान गुरुवंत की जय, समाज भक्त की जय, गौरव प्रेमानंद हरि हरि बोल. All glories to the assembly. It's all glories to the assembly. It's all glories to the assembly. All glories to the Guru and Shri covering all glories to Shri Prabhupada ki jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswati Vyasam Tado Jayamutiraye. Ashtaprayeshu Aputreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya. Bhagavati Uttama Sloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtihi. Hare Krishna, welcome you all to the Friday morning Srimad Bhagavatam class. We are discussing today from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 14, text 29 to 30, text 31. I'll read the text now. Text 29. Maitreya Uvacha Ittam Viparyaya Matihi Papiyan Utpatam Gataha Anuniyamanas Tat Yachnam Nachakre Brashta Mangalaha. Translation Srila Prabhupada ki jai. The great sage Maitreya continued, thus the king who became unintelligent due to his sinful life and deviation from the right path became actually bereft of all good fortune. He could not accept the requests of the great sages, which the sages put before him with great respect, and therefore he was condemned. Purport Srila Prabhupada ki jai. The demons certainly cannot have any faith in the words of authorities. In fact, they are always disrespectful to authorities. They manufacture their own religious principles and disobey great personalities like Vyasa, Narada, and even the Supreme Personality of God, Krishna. As soon as one disobeys authority, he immediately becomes very sinful and loses his good fortune. The king was so puffed up and impudent that he dared respect the great saintly personalities, and this brought him ruination. Text 30. Itite satkritastena dvija panditamanina Bhagnaayam Bhavyayachnayam Tasmai Vidura Chakruduhu. Translation Srila Prabhupada ki jai. My dear Vidura, all good fortune unto you. The foolish king who thought himself very learned thus insulted the great sages, and the sages, being broken hearted by the king's words, became very angry at him. Text 31. Anyatam esa papa prakriti darunaha जीवन जगत asav ashu kurute basmash satruvam. Translation Srila Prabhupada ki jai. All the great saintly sages immediately cried, kill him, kill him. He is the most dreadful, sinful person. If he lives, he will certainly turn the whole world into ashes in no time. Purport Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Saintly persons are generally very kind to all kinds of living entities, but they are not unhappy when a serpent or a scorpion is killed. It is not good for saintly persons to kill, but they are encouraged to kill demons who are exactly like serpents and scorpions. Therefore, all the saintly sages decided to kill King Vena, who was so dreadful and dangerous to all human society. We can appreciate the extent to which the saintly sages actually control the king. If the king or government becomes demonic, it is the duty of a saintly person to upset the government and replace it with deserving persons who follow the orders and instructions of saintly persons. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurmritam Mena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupakada Mahim Dadati Swapadantikam Mandeham Shri Guru Shri Dapatakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavamcha Shri Rupam Sadgrajatam Sargana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajitam Sadvaitam Savitam Harijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sargana Lalita Shri Vishakandidam Shcha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenabandhu Jagatpate Gopishya Gupta Kanta Radha Kanta Namaste Taptakanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishavanuste Devi Pranamami Haripriye Panchakalpatarubhyascha Kripasindhubhyavacha Patitanam Pavnebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Moham Karodi Vachalam. Hare Krishna. So, in these three verses we see today, the first verse, that is text 29, it is mentioned that the king who thus became unintelligent due to his sinful life and deviation from the right path became actually bereft of all good fortune. He could not accept the requests of the great sages, which the sages put before him with great respect, and therefore he was condemned. So the king Vena was basically a very unruly king. He stopped the Brahmana, the sages, from performing sacrifices, and he could not keep the citizens also under check, because as per Shastras, the king is supposed to ensure that the citizens follow the Varnashrama Dharma and thereby worship the Lord. But King Vena couldn't achieve that also. So then the sages actually tried to pacify him, we see in the previous verses. And gradually it came to a stage where the king Vena lost all his intelligence and he started to indulge in sinful life, and he deviated from the right path and he lost all his fortune. So we'll understand what is intelligence. So the basic definition of intelligence is defined as that by which one can discriminate between what is right and what is wrong. But after discrimination, one should have the determination to follow what he has understood by his right intelligence. Many times we can also see that people might have the intelligence. Yes, I know that this is right and this is wrong. But when it comes to practicality, they may not have, they may lack the determination to do what is right and stop doing what is wrong. So both two things are required, and one is discrimination and then determination. So the right point of discrimination is to the real intelligence. Then it's followed by determination. And one of the biggest obstacles that is there in following up these is due to a restless mind and uncontrolled senses. So many times we see that there may be someone may be very highly qualified materially, but then if he has not acted according to his intelligence, then it's a wrong, something wrong with him very badly. Even materially, if someone is intelligent enough and is not able to apply his intelligence at the right time, in the right perspective, his intelligence is gone waste, even though he has understood it. On the contrary, we see on a spiritual platform, Prahlad Maharaja says that in the seventh canto, he says that one who is sufficiently intelligent should use the human form of body from the very beginning of his life to practice the activities of devotional service, giving up all other engagements. Human body is rarely achieved, and although temporary, it is meaningful because in human form one can perform devotional service. So here Prahlad Maharaj describes or defines what is real intelligence. Real intelligence is trying to understand that only in the human form of life can one perform devotional service, and it is not possible in other forms of life. So, though human body is very rarely achieved, and it is also temporary. So, two important points are there. One is that human body is not very easily achieved. Second thing is that even if it is achieved, one should also have the intelligence to understand that it is meant to perform devotional service. And the third thing is that it is also temporary in nature. We don't know, particularly in this age of Kali Yuga, how long, who will live. It's very difficult to predict. These days, we see a lot of people leaving their bodies even in their 20s and 20s and 30s. Life is so stressful that even a person who is going to school or to college to study is under so much of pressure today that many of them we see they give up even their bodies by committing a suicide and so forth. That is the type of pressure that children get in studies today. So if one understands that the human body is not all meant only for materialistic pursuits, but also it is meant for understanding the goal of life, that is to perform devotional service to the Supreme Lord. then whether it is a person who is going to the office or whether it is person going to school or college, his life becomes blissful, his lifespan increases, he is able to lead a healthy life and so forth. And it has an impact on the others also. So in one house, if there is a devotee, it has a significant impact on the other members also. So the Srila Prabhupada also defines that real intelligence is to work for Krishna and work and serve Krishna. So he says, keep the intelligence as it is and work for Krishna. And it is only Krishna who gives the intelligence by which one has to work. In fact, Krishna tells Arjuna in Bhagavad Gita, Sarvasya Chaham Buddhi Sannivishtam Mattasmiti Jnanam Apohanam Cha. That means he says that from me comes intelligence, from me comes knowledge, and from me comes forgetfulness. So when Krishna gives us all these three essential things, why not utilize them in the service of Krishna instead of personal sense gratification? As I have informed in my previous classes, all activities can be utilized, whether it's a Prabhu or a Mataji, in the service of Krishna. Now, the sages, they tried to pacify King Vena, but it so happened that he became very sinful and he lost all his intelligence. And they tried to advise him. The sages respected him a lot, but still, in spite of that, he did not listen to them. So, therefore, it was as good as he was condemned. Now, in fact, in the 16th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Srila Prabhupada describes the characteristic of demons. And he says in the translation 16:4, he says pride, arrogance, conceit, anger, harshness, and ignorance. These qualities belong to those of demoniac nature, O son of Tirtha. That means these are the qualities that all the demons have. That means they are very proud among them with themselves. They are very arrogant. They are very always having anger, and they are always in ignorance. Similarly, it is said that the demons cannot have any faith in any of the authorities for on a long over a period of time. So in the purport also, Srila Prabhupada mentions that the demons have their royal way road to hell. So they want to, many demons also want to make a show of religion and advancement in spiritual life, but although they do not follow the principles. So they're very arrogant and they're proud in possessing some type of education or even wealth that they might have got. And apart from this, they also want themselves to be worshipped by others and demand respectability, although they do not command respect. So many of them start claiming that I am God, I have reached that stage and I am God, and now you must all respect me. This happened with King Vena also. And not only he stopped the duties of the prescribed duties of the sages and the others, but then he started claiming himself to be an authority. He started claiming himself to be God. So on these situations, it is said that the sages do get angry. So this is what is described in Bhagavad Gita also, that these demons have their own whims and fancies based on which they claim themselves to be authority, or sometimes they say that what they do is religion. And right from the time that these demons take birth in the womb of their mothers, they are demoniac in nature. And they manifest a lot of inauspicious qualities. And they also disobey religious principles. They manufacture their own religious principles and disobey great personality like Narada, Vyasa, and so forth. And then the moment one disobeys their authority, then immediately one becomes sinful and he loses all good fortunes. So basically, it is a knowledge from the Shastras through which one comes out of ignorance. In fact, it is said that the knowledge of the Shastras can burn into ashes the darkness of ignorance. So knowledge is light and ignorance is darkness. So King Vena was so much puffed up and ignorant that he started to disrespect the sages who are all devotees of the Lord. And gradually, as you all know, Vaishnava Aparad is a big devotee offenses to the lotus feet of the devotee is very, very abominable, and this brought him to ruination. Even though the sages respected the king a lot, as normally required, because a king is supposed to represent the supreme personality of Godhead. So the sages looked at King Vena on these lines, and they respected him also. And they gave him a lot of advice based on the scriptures that they were well versed in. Next, we go to text number 30, in which Maitreya Rishi is telling Vidura, "My dear Vidura, all got good fortune unto you. The foolish king, who thought himself very learned, thus insulted the great sages, and the sages, being broken-hearted by the king's words, became very angry at him." So gradually, the offense that King Vena performed on the sages, it started increasing and increasing, and over a period of time, the King Vena reached that age where he started insulting the sages. With the result, the sages became very angry at King Vena. We'll understand some points of anger. How sage means great devotees of the Lord. How can devotees of the Lord become angry? And there are some instances. It is said that anger is also necessary in life, but anger for us based on lusty desires is not acceptable. But anger to serve Krishna is acceptable. Examples are given in Bhagavad Gita also. Arjuna was reluctant to fight with the Kauravas, but later, by reciting Bhagavad Gita to Arjuna, Krishna actually incited anger in him so that he can fight. Because in a battlefield, without having certain amount of anger, it is not possible for one to fight a battle. We can understand this in our own self. So anger is also required. Some examples are given how Arjuna got angry. Hanuman was also angry at one point of time, and Hanuman used his anger. Actually, for the monkeys, their tail is very, very important for them. So Ravana set Hanuman's tail on fire, and Hanuman, what he did was he used this fire and flew throughout Lanka and set Lanka on fire. So Hanuman used his anger because Ravana kidnapped Sita Devi. So Hanuman used his anger to burn Lanka into ashes. So anger can be used in the service of Krishna. We'll run through some more examples. It is said that while Srila Prabhupada was in the USA, or somewhere during the early days, there was a huge gathering, and Srila Prabhupada was addressing the crowd on the process of self-realization. So one hippie, he stood up and he said that, "Have you seen the self?" And Srila Prabhupada was talking about the self, with the soul. So the hippie started asking, "Have you seen the soul?" So Srila Prabhupada gave the microphone to this hippie and said, "Now, uh, who is your authority?" And this way there was a long discussion between Srila Prabhupada and hippie. The hippie could not answer Srila Prabhupada's question as to who was his authority, whereas Srila Prabhupada explained who was his authority in detail, how we all get knowledge from parampara, which the hippie could not. So when they were discussing on these uh, lines, suddenly the temper flew up for the hippie, and at that time one woman, she got up and said that, "Srila Prabhupada, why are you getting angry? Because you are a sage." That is the time when Malati Mataji was one of the earlier disciples. She got up and she got angry on that woman and said, "My Prabhupada can get angry." And she chastised the woman as the situation was going out of control. Because this woman was chastising Srila Prabhupada for getting angry. But Srila Prabhupada can get angry, and it is required sometimes by the sages, by devotees of the Lord, and they use it in the right perspective. So somehow the situation was brought under control by this Aliki Mataji. Another time when Srila Prabhupada was giving a class, one Mayavadi person stood up and he started putting up many questions. And he was not prepared to listen to Srila Prabhupada. So Srila Prabhupada was angry because he was disturbing the other who are listening in classes. And he was going on putting questions. Srila Prabhupada told him to sit down in very grave. So Srila Prabhupada also used to chastise many devotees for not trying to understand and practice Krishna consciousness as per the required standards. So Srila Prabhupada's anger also is classified in three ways. When he is not very angry, he would chastise by strong, blunt words. Then, when he is a little more angry, it is said that he would pass sarcastic remarks. Basically, for correction of the devotees. And when he is really angry, it is said that he would not speak at all. And his eyes would be dilated with red color, would be reddish, though he would be silent. And he would look very, very serious and grave to the extent that no devotee would like to go to him or even go near him. This was how Srila Prabhupada's anger was classified by his disciples in the earlier days. And one thing was that Srila Prabhupada would never accept anyone giving excuses. So once it is said that when he was in the UK, he was staying in a very narrow building, and Srila Prabhupada was staying in the top floor, and he would normally honor prasadam at 1:30 p.m. And at that age itself, Srila Prabhupada took a lot of austerities. So Harikesh Prabhu was one of the initial devotees, and he would cook for Srila Prabhupada. One day he fell sick and he gave this service to another devotee. And the new devotee who took charge of that service, he compromised in terms of timing and all those things. Srila Prabhupada rang the bell as usual. That was an indication that the devotee should bring the prasadam at that time. But Srila Prabhupada went on ringing the bell many times, and this devotee did not even respond. At least he could have come and told that it might take little 10 minutes or whatever it is. Finally, when he did not respond, Srila Prabhupada was very angry. Finally, when the devotee brought prasadam, Srila Prabhupada asked him to take it back. The devotee did not know what to do. Finally, apologized to Srila Prabhupada, giving the reason, but Srila Prabhupada was very strong in his reasoning. Srila Prabhupada would not accept any excuses, and finally he accepted the prasadam. Another time it is said that how Srila Prabhupada, like we see in this case, King Vena was cruel. So the sages and he insulted the sages, and the sages got angry, and they are in the process of taking the next step. The point is that the sages can get angry and they can take austerities and so forth. It is said that once Srila Prabhupada was very, very sick when he was in the US, and there was a Muslim governor, and Srila Prabhupada wanted to update him on the requirement. This happened not in the US, it happened in Vrindavan for the inauguration of the Krishna Balaram temple. So Srila Prabhupada was very, very sick, and still, in spite of his sickness, he took the austerities of receiving the Muslim ruler very, very well, Muslim governor, to update him on the requirement of steel and cement for the Krishna Balaram Mandir, and then treated him well, received him well, and gave him prasadam and so forth. So this is how sages are very serious. At the same time, they take a lot of austerities to go out of the way also. It is also said that, like we will see how the sages were upset with King Vena, and they were looking at ways to remove him. Similarly, if we look at Srila Prabhupada's lifestyle also, Srila Prabhupada met political leaders wherever he was. One pastime that is given in his Leelamrita is about Srila Prabhupada meeting Indira Gandhi in August 1975. It is said that Srila Prabhupada met Indira Gandhi, and 2 days before that, Bangladesh, one of the Bangladesh leader was killed. So when Srila Prabhupada wanted to meet Indira Gandhi, in fact, the security guards did not even allow. And Srila Prabhupada wanted to meet Indira Gandhi with all the foreigners, but the security guards did not allow the foreigners. But Srila Prabhupada managed to meet her, and he made many points for propagation of the Krishna conscious movement. and also the country. So some of them are, he wanted visa to be granted to all the foreigners to propagate Krishna consciousness. And because without a visa, they cannot stay in this country, not here anywhere except in their home country. Then he said all the MPs should be initiated Brahmanas. See, this is the vision Srila Prabhupada had. He said all the MPs should be initiated Brahmanas. Then he said close slaughterhouses. And he said chanting should be the focus for all the leaders. Then he said no public meat eating, and prostitution should be punishable. And there should be no religion except Bhagavad Gita as it is. Then he mentioned that government leaders must join Kirtan at least twice a day. So this was the vision of Srila Prabhupada. And thereafter he left, and then it is said that Indira Gandhi told him that just 2 days before the Bangladesh leader was killed and her life was also in threat. She was a bit disturbed, and Srila Prabhupada left, seeing that she was facing a threat. And then he left. And it is said that after some, of course, we know that she was also killed. Srila Prabhupada also, when he was in the US, there was a President Richard Nixon, and he was involved in some scandal, and Srila Prabhupada wanted him to be removed. And later it is said that Richard Nixon had to resign. But this was the vision of Srila Prabhupada, that the rulers should be educated Brahmanas. Here mentions about initiated devotees. That means they are all educated and well versed in Shastric knowledge. That is how in the years, the kings used to rule by the knowledge or the advice given by the sages or rishis, who were all great devotees of the Lord. And they were all well versed in the scriptures, and they would advise the king, and the king would heed by their advice. So but it is said that also Srila Prabhupada, wherever he went, he tried to meet the leaders and to propagate Krishna consciousness. Because when leaders go as per the advice of Srila Prabhupada, then automatically the others will also follow. So if the leaders follow Krishna consciousness, the others, common citizens will start following Krishna consciousness. In the case of Vena, he became a wicked person. He stopped the sacrifices, and with the result that the citizens also lost trust in him, and they wanted to remove him from the throne. So these are some examples. One other example that is there in the Shastras is that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself. We see that when Chandkasi, he started to object during the presence of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Many would go out on the streets and do Nagar Kirtan. So the local Muslims, they got upset on that, and they complained to the Qazi. So Chandkasi came to one of the houses, and then he broke one mridanga and told that person, so long you have not been following the principles of Hindu religion, and now you are following very, very rigorously ever since appearance of Sri Nimai Pandita. So under whose strength are you doing this so very rigorously? And he said that he broke the mridanga, and he said no one should perform kirtan from now on. And if I see someone performing some kirtana, he said I will seize his property and convert him to Muslim. So after this, the Chandkasi returned home, and devotees were very, very shocked hearing the warning that was given by Chandkasi. So they went to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and informed him that this is what has happened, that they'll be converted to Muslims if they perform Sankirtan. Mahaprabhu, after all, he is the Lord himself, and he told the devotees, you go and perform Sankirtan today, and I shall kill all the Muslims. So this is how Mahaprabhu inspired the devotees. And he said, in the evening, I shall perform a very grand Sankirtan, and you all should decorate the city in the evening carrying torches. Torches means those days there was no electric torch, but they were all used to carry a oil lamp to give light. So this is how Chaitanya Mahaprabhu advised his devotees. So that evening, hundreds and thousands and hundreds and thousands of devotees gathered to perform Sankirtana, and they all planned to go to Kasi's house. And hearing this, Kasi became very, very afraid, and he hid himself in the house and did not come out of the house. In fact, in one place in Chaitanya Bhagavad, it is said that they wanted to put Chankasi's house on fire, but Mahaprabhu's mood was not on those lines. The Lord went instead and gave a lot of respect to Kasi. So when the Kasi came out, and then Mahaprabhu said, "I've come to your house as a guest." After seeing Mahaprabhu in his pleasing personality, the Qazi said, "Now you are come down in an angry mood, and I see that you are pacified, so I have come here." So basically, there is a long discussion between Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Chankasi on cow slaughter and all those things, and finally Mahaprabhu convinces Chankasi of the need to stop cow slaughter. So basically, it is said that Mahaprabhu started the civil disobedience movement. Uh, Mahatma Gandhi started this non-violence movement. But basically, he was carrying Bhagavad Gita with him to exhibit that Arjuna did not want to fight. So he also, on those lines, Mahatma Gandhi carried the Bhagavad Gita with him. But Mahatma Gandhi did not have the right understanding of the Bhagavad Gita. Like I mentioned in the beginning of the class, anger is required for someone to fight. But then he said something about non-violence movement. He started something on non-violence movement. But the real disobedient movement came from Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He did not resort to any violence or something like that, but rather he started a philosophical discussion with Chankasi and repeated Chankasi. So even if you go to Mayapur, anywhere, it's near one of those places, islands, you can see that place where this pastime took place. Then we go to text 31. It says that all the great saintly sages immediately cried, "Kill him, kill him. He is the most dreadful, sinful person. If he lives, he will certainly turn the whole world into ashes in no time." So the saintly people were all very kind to all the living entities. But normally they are not happy when a serpent or a scorpion is killed. But here they compare King Vena to that of a snake or a scorpion because they thought that he is dangerous to the whole human society. In fact, in the seventh canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, ninth chapter, there is a very nice sloka where Prahlad Maharaja, when he sees Lord Narasimhadeva in a very, very angry mood, he says, "Please therefore cease your anger now that my father, that the great demon Hiranyakashipu has been killed." Since even saintly persons take pleasure in the killing of a scorpion or a snake, all the worlds have achieved great satisfaction because of the death of this demon. Now they are confident of their happiness and they will always remember your auspicious incarnation in order to be free from here. This is what Prahlad Maharaj prayed to Narasimhadev. After Prahlad Maharaj offered many prayers, Narasimhadev's anger was subsided. The point is that in this sloka also the demons are compared to snakes and scorpions. So the point is that although saintly persons never decide any killing, but it is not, they don't take pleasure in killing, including living entities like snakes and scorpions. But Hiranyakashipu was killed because he was worse than a snake or a scorpion. So the devotees can always remember the form of Narasimhadeva when they are in danger. But Narasimhadeva is Krishna in the form of Narasimhadeva to give protection when his devotee is in danger. So the point is that during those days, the sages were so powerful that they could control the king by the prowess of their knowledge and the Brahmanical power. And if the king or government becomes demoniac, then at that time the duty of the saintly person is to remove the government and replace it with deserving persons who follow the orders and instructions of saintly person. This is how the system used to be. So apart from the king, apart from that, there is a mention in the Shastras that if a king collects taxes and if he does not protect or he does not perform his duty to the citizens, he shares 1/6 of the citizens' reactions. And if he is ruling the state properly, then the king gets a share of 1/6 of the pious activities of the citizen. That means the king cannot extract taxes unless until he gives protection, sees that the citizens are all engaged in respective duties as per based on Varnashrama Dharma. They all worship the Supreme Lord. And when such a good ruling is there, then the king can get 1/6 of the reactions of all the citizens. There are some more examples where, if you see, in the case of in the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, Parikshit Maharaj, actually, when he went to the forest for hunting, he entered the hermitage of Shamika Muni. Shamika Muni was deep in meditation on the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and Parikshit Maharaj was actually very, very filled with thirst. So he wanted some water. So he tried to ask for water to Shamika Muni. And Shamika Muni was so undisturbed because he was deep in meditation. So Parikshit Maharaj got angry and he put a dead snake on the shoulder, on the neck of Shamika Muni. So Parikshit Maharaj, though was a great devotee of the Lord, but he got angry at this point of time. And of course, Srimad Bhagavatam mentions that this was an arrangement by the Lord, so that Parikshit Maharaj becomes cursed by Shringi, Shamika Muni's son. When Shamika Muni was on the bank of a river, he understood that his father has been his father was not respected by the king himself by putting a dead snake on his neck. So Shringi in turn cursed Parikshit Maharaj to die in 7 days. So two things happened. One was Parikshit Maharaj getting angry, though he was a great devotee of the Lord. The other was Shringi cursing Parikshit Maharaj to die by a snake bite in 7 days' time, which his own father, Shamika Muni, did not like it because that was the exalted characteristic of Parikshit Maharaj. And it is said that because Shringi cursed Parikshit Maharaj, thereafter he lost all the Brahminical qualifications in him. And it is from that time that Brahmanas lost their powers because Kali Yuga started and Brahmanas don't have powers. Otherwise, during the Esther years, Brahmanas had a lot of Brahminical tejas by which they could kill anyone by reciting the mantras and so forth. So Vena was compared to a snake or a scorpion because he was envious. And it is said that snakes and scorpions can be killed because they are envious in nature. And so, also mentioned by Srila Prabhupada that those human beings who are envious by nature are put into the bodies of snakes or scorpions. And one pastime is that during Srila Prabhupada's time, when Srila Prabhupada was in Bengal, he was in Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakura's mutt. When Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakura saw a snake entering into the garden, so he advised the devotees to kill the snake. And this happened during a very short period after Srila Prabhupada met Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakura. So when Srila Prabhupada saw this, he was highly disturbed as to how Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakura advised his devotees to kill the snake. And thereafter, when Srila Prabhupada was under this confusion, it is said that he heard this sloka of Prahlad Maharaj's prayers in Srimad Bhagavatam, that when his father Hiranyakashipu was killed by the Lord himself, it was as if the Lord had killed the snakes and scorpions. So that is how Prahlad Maharaj compared his own father to be. And then when Srila Prabhupada read this particular sloka, he was convinced, yes, that snakes and scorpions have to be killed because basically by nature they are envious, even without any reason, and they can harm anybody. So that is why it is said that they should be killed. But it does not mean that we go out of the way looking for snakes and kill them. Some more pastimes on great qualities of devotees and snakes. For example, Srila Haridas Thakura was a great devotee of the Lord, chanting about 300,000 rounds, names a day. So after he was beaten by the servants of Chankasi, he came out of the river fully energized, as if nothing had happened. And then seeing the situation of Haridas Thakura, the king was surprised, and the king realized that he was not a normal person. So he offered a lot of respects. Thereafter, it is said that Haridas Thakura used to stay in a cave, and those days many holy devotees would come and see Haridas Thakura and take association with him. At that time, there was a snake in that cave, and it would emit a lot of heat from the cave. So were uh, they understood that there was a snake inside it, due to which there was so much of heat felt. Now the king was hesitant to go and see Haridas Thakura in that cave because he was afraid of the snake. But Haridas Thakura was not disturbed at all because he was always chanting the name of the Lord. But what happened was, many times Brahmanas who used to come and see Srila Haridas Thakura, they were feeling very, very bad that Haridas Thakura is chanting the name of the Lord in a cave where there is a poisonous snake. So there was an arrangement made that the next day Haridas Thakura would shift. They brought a physician who said that this is a poisonous snake, so Haridas Thakura, we have to move out of that place. Haridas Thakura said that I am here chanting the Lord's names since last so many days. I'm not feeling that heat, nor am I afraid of the bite of the snake and so forth. So he said that let's all chant the holy name of the Lord like before, and that is the greatest protection that one can get. So this happened for some time, and one day, based on the Brahmana's request, it was agreed upon by Haridas Thakura that he would move out of the cave to a better place. So on the day Haridas Thakura was supposed to move out of the cave, Haridas Thakura was chanting the holy name, when all of a sudden the snake came out in front of everybody and left that place. The reason that is given is that the Paramatma who is seated in Haridas Thakura's heart, the same Paramatma is there in the snake's heart also. So by the arrangement of the Lord, the snake left Haridas Thakura because the snake did not want Haridas Thakura to leave that cave from there. So the snake itself left. So this is one pastime to show that how sages are very, very merciful, very, very compassionate, even to animals like snakes and scorpions. So sometimes there may be contradictions, like mentioned in the pastime of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakura, asking his devotees to kill a snake that came into his garden. And here we see Haridas Thakura, due to his compassion, they did not kill, but rather when Haridas Thakura was supposed to leave, the snake itself left because Haridas Thakura was a great devotee of the Lord. So this is the power of devotional service to the Lord, and by his power, the snake itself left. So that is why it is said that sometimes there may be contradictions in the scriptures, but one has to understand these from the scriptural point of view based on sadhu and guru also, because otherwise one can be misled by the example I gave about Mahatma Gandhi. Mahatma Gandhi said it's a uh, uh, non-violent movement, but he thought that Arjuna was made to fight, whereas it should be non-violent. But actually, like I mentioned at the beginning of the class, Arjuna had to get some anger. And Mahatma Gandhi did not favor Krishna inciting Arjuna to fight. So this was a contradiction. But we see in the case of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu started a civil disobedient movement without creating any harm to Chankasi by just describing the philosophy itself and convincing Chankasi. So it is said that we all must follow these footsteps based on time, place, and circumstances, based on Sadhu, Shastra, and Guru. We cannot independently take decisions on these matters, but one should refer to senior devotees, pure devotees, etc., before we take such steps. So with this, I conclude the class for the day. Any of you have got any questions or any comments, they can ask me. So if there are no questions or comments, I take the class as closed. Thank you all very much. Mantraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.